Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is a spotlight showcase. What's a spotlight showcase? Well, with me, Tony DADA, your soul brother, I have in my company today the lovely Richelle Bailey. Richelle Bailey, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Good morning. Nearly said good
Okay.
afternoon. It feels
Yeah.
like afternoon already.
Well, you know what? Let's say good morning, good afternoon,
Good
and good
morning.
evening because people are going to be watching this from all over the
Different
globe.
song. Hmm.
So, before we launch into this, I want to just share what the spotlight session is. So, through our GPS program that we have been running for about 10 years now, we've found consistently that some people have amazing breakthroughs in a really short space of time. And so we decided that we would begin to do a spotlight episode because some of the things that people have experienced are almost unbelievable. And so we thought, you know what, they're never going to believe us. So let's just bring it on camera so it's there live and direct. And so I'm pleased to say, Richelle, that you are one of those people that have had a kind of amazing journey. And so we want to talk today about and ask you to share your journey. So I want to jump right in by asking you what was even the catalyst that brought you to our world?
I think the catalyst was being tired of doing the same thing, having the same results, life not progressing, and feeling at the beginning of every year saying, "This year is going to be my year. This year is going to be my year." Getting to the end of the year and nothing's happened, nothing's achieved. And I thought, next year, this time, something has to change. And I sat in bed in July and thought, something has to change. God send something, send somebody. I cannot keep going round and round like a gerbil on a treadmill. And then
Wow.
I encountered your one of your podcasts, and that was a catalyst that this is where I need to be. I need to hear more of this.
Okay, so you then decided to sign up for our 3 day challenge.
I
Is that
did.
right? Yeah.
I did. I signed up straight away for the challenge.
Okay, so this is again the 3 day challenge was just really my gift to the world in that I know that for many people they're searching just like you, but you don't know what you don't know until
Yeah,
someone shows you, right? So we do these 3 day challenges absolutely free, purely for the purpose of doing that. Just for some people, it might just be the thing that they didn't know that they needed in their life. And so we did the 3 day challenge. And so you signed up, you joined, and I think you had some degree of clarity by day one, two, or three. Tell us about that journey.
I did. Initially, I think when I signed up, I thought, I'm only doing the 3 days. I'm not getting involved and paying for anything. I'm not sort of investing. I'm just sort of going to do the 3 days. But when I got in and we started talking about what prevents you from achieving your vision, and they talked about procrastination. And for me, I was a master of procrastination. Nothing happened in life because I delay. And I thought I saw myself in so many of the principles of why my pillars weren't progressing. And I thought, I have to go further. So I was caught by the system that you have to invest in yourself, you have to go further, and you have to stop procrastinating and look at what's your triggers, what stops you from achieving, what stops you from accessing the future and gaining.
So it kind of sounds like to me from day one when we started talking about procrastination, and I listed about 20 different ways and reasons why people procrastinate. It kind of got you hooked from that point
It
of view.
did.
And then I think by day two, when we started talking about the mind and the anatomy of the mind in a very simplistic way, talking about left brain, right brain, again, you could see yourself in that. And so when it came to the third day, when we talked about the fact that everyone should have a life book based on our GPS system, a life book of visions and goals, you were
I
like,
was ready.
you were ready. You were like, okay, all right. So 3 days, you saw some things. It was a case of you didn't know what you didn't know. And by us showing and revealing that to you, it was like time for action. And that's what I love about you. You know, we've been running these consistently now that we actually know, unfortunately, it's a numbers game. in as much that we know that only 20% of people that actually register will actually show up across the 3 days. And of those 20% of people that show up across the 3 days, only 20% will actually take action. And that's what you did, you know.
Yeah.
And it's I'm laboring the point because it's a very important thing to state that it is only when you take action that the magic begins, because you then begin to operate. There's movement, there's a shift that takes place. So you signed up, and you sign up for the 90-day program. And the 90-day program is where we help to support you and guide you through giving you access to our holistic mentors. We give you access to your own life book, that you begin to create your life book of visions and dreams. And I'd like you to tell us about that experience. What was because I know you had a little bit of difficulty initially engaging in your life book, because it's quite a different way of looking at your life, would you say?
It is. Because yes, I had the visions, but then they were in my head and they weren't really clear. So they were like fuzzy. And is now trying to get clarity out of the fuzz and write them down in the different areas and the different pillars of my life. And I'd never thought of life in those pillars. So here
Wow.
I am now having to look at every single aspect of life. I've never looked at the relationship with myself. So that was a whole new thing. What
Okay.
relationship with myself? And then reality was, didn't treat myself as well as I should have. But then I'm expecting people to treat me well. So then
Kind of
it
don't make
it
sense, right?
it didn't make sense. So I then looked at the pillars, but then it's a matter of now what then do I put? What are the goals to achieve that? And then my scoring was very, very low because I wasn't really doing anything or doing sufficient in any of the pillars. So they were very, very low scoring initially.
Right.
But then
And so over the 90 days, when we began to show you how to use the life book consistently, number one, it gave you clarity of your vision for each of these areas of your life, which as a result allowed you to now have a holistic, comprehensive, integrated, grand vision of Richelle. So
yes,
that feeling of uncomfortability or dis-ease, where you're just not sure, it began to dissolve and disappear, would you say?
it did. And for me, it helped me to see myself because I don't think anybody really looks at yourself and it's like, who am I? And even though people ask you that question, we normally stumble with, how do I describe me? Who am I
Yeah.
actually? And
Right.
how do I actually put myself? And I was one of those who struggled, but the life book has helped me to, one, define myself in any area of my life, but it helped me to do a deep dive. Who am I? What am I about? What do I want to achieve? How do I actually achieve it? And what do I need to employ? And realized I was thinking I could do it on my own. And the life book and the academy taught me you cannot go this walk alone. You have to, one, invest in yourself, but you have to walk this journey with like minds and with people that have gone ahead of the journey and know where they're going and can pull certain things out of you you don't even realize are there.
Wow. I mean, that is so deep and so profound. So here we are, from July being kind of stuck and feeling I can't keep doing this treadmill existence, to a 3-day challenge where I'm like, I'm just gonna come and get what I can get. I'm not paying anything. To within 3 days, a complete U-turn, and like, okay, how much is it gonna cost me? And 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 I'm
Didn't matter
happy.
what it cost, I had to invest.
I
Didn't matter
had
what
to
it cost at that
invest
point.
in myself. Absolutely. So already within 3 days, a mindset shift. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the reason why the program is called Mind Reset, because in 3 days, your mind had reset itself to, I'm not going to pay for anything, to, I have to invest in myself. And
Yes.
what I found was really quite profound. Within 90 days, so 90 days had not passed before you were like, well, yeah, I'm loving this. I'm seeing changes in my life, to the point that, like, I now want to take it to the next level. Because for me, The reason why we offer the Mind Reset program is because I believe that every single person should have a life book. You know, it is written for those who have a religious perspective, or I should say, a Christian perspective. It's written, in the book that through lack of vision, a people perish. I mean, it's not my words, it's written in plain sight. But yet, how many of us have a vision? And it's also written in the book of Habakkuk 2, verse 2, that he who writes, or the person that writes their vision down and makes it plain, will run with it, which means that
Mhm.
my interpretation is if you have a vision and it's written down and you can see it consistently and you look at it consistently and regularly, that awareness will seep into your subconscious mind and life will begin to blend and mold itself so that you find yourself in a beautiful place that many people would just think is heaven, which is where you are chasing your dreams and your visions. Like
Yeah,
you're trying to keep up with your blessings.
that's it.
And this is kind of what happened to you. So within the 90 days, can you share some of the things that you began to experience that made you then say, I actually have got my foundation in place and I want to build on that by doing our GPS level 1 program, which stands for Grow Personal Success Level 1?
What I became aware of in very, very early in the program, for the first two sessions, was that we have baggage, we have things from our childhood, the experiences, and we carry a legacy of pain, different sorts of things. And I realized I had to release people from my past. I had to release myself from the guilt and maybe not realizing I was still sort of harboring some pain and harboring different things. And I realized I had to let go of all of those. And for me, I had
I'm not so
yeah,
sure. Do you remember what actually? So let me share my account of what I think happened, because I know that you've had a whirlwind existence for a few months, but how I remember is you wanted to take care of business, like you wanted to get onto your business,
yes,
and we had a
yes,
conversation. Am I? Are you? This is
yes, backtrack.
okay.
Yeah.
And so you were like, Tony, this foundational stuff, mind reset, I'm good. I want to make some money. I want to start my business. I want to take my business to the next level. And
Yeah.
oh yeah, is this kind of
Yeah.
okay? All right. So just making sure. So you were like, Tony, I don't want to do GPS level 1. In fact, I want to do
I don't,
GPS level 2, because GPS level 2 is when you've got clarity of your vision and you know what your gifts, talents, and abilities are. You're all good. Now at level 2, we now take that and we see how we can bring that together as a as a product, service, or a business, and then set your business in such a way that you're getting paid to do what you love.
mhm.
That's what it was more like. Does that
Yes,
okay?
yes.
All right. So how the story then went, that's what you said to me. And I'm like, okay, Richelle. But from my interaction with you, I really kind of think that you should like do GPS level 1. But you were like, no, Tony, I'm good. I'm good. I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll do level 2. So does that sound like a more accurate
It
account?
does.
Okay.
Yes, that's a
So now
correct.
let me hand it back over to you. So you went to bed that night
Yes, I
having
went to bed.
decided that, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to jump on this GPS level 2. And then what happened?
Like I started reflecting over our conversation, and I thought, and different things. I started having flashbacks, and I thought that this thing is harboring from my past. And what I hadn't shared is I had relationship issues with my mother, and I didn't even put it in my life book. Which Tony said, "You haven't even put that in your life book. Don't you have any intention of dealing with this?" And I thought, well, I don't see any way of things changing, but I just realized that there are things historically that I needed to attend to, and it became very apparent that night. So the next morning, I sent a message. I do need to do level 1. So backtrack, yes, let me deal with the personal stuff because there are issues which I was sort of glossing over and pretending life was all good and laying down, they came back like a flood.
Right. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that out is because you'd even forgotten. Look, and this is what happens, you know, and it's great because so many of us have got this stuff so buried within our soul that we forget that it's there, but it is there and it impacts our lives on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you came back and you were like, you know what, Tony, I've reflected. And that's the beautiful thing. You see, just from our conversation, it gave you the time and space. And it was interesting that you went to bed where you were able to engage in stillness and quiet reflection. See, that's really important because many of us do not do that with our lives. We don't take time to be still and focus on the things that are disturbing us or causing dis-ease within us. And the other thing that you learned from doing the mind reset program is the number one rule is that we must keep it real with ourselves. Because what I found is majority of adults, I mean, I've worked with young people for 20 years and I've worked with adults for 10 years. And oh my God, like adults, big people, we're just liars. We just lie to ourselves so much that we actually start believing the lie. But that wasn't happening here. So I was really pleased when you decided that, you know what, Tony? And I was like, wow, because now it's got from I'm not gonna invest or I'm not gonna spend any money to investing in the mind reset 90-day program. And now saying, actually, Tony, I want to do GPS level 1 and then move on to level 2. So you're like, this investment is just like happening. Now, on some level, some people might say, man, this Tony guy's really got this lady hoodwinked. Like she's just spending money. But we then started GPS level 1. And can you share some of the things that you began to experience? And by this time, we had not been working for 90, I mean, we hadn't even covered the 90 days. And when we started GPS level 1, we had some amazing breakthroughs. And I must say, in just 8 or 9 weeks. Tell us some of the things that you began to experience.
I think the first thing before the experience, I realized that it was not about money. It was about me having access to life and me accessing and being able to be in a position to have my visions and to live them and to impact life. So it no longer became about the money. I was worth investing in because I had something to share with the world and give the world. So it became a matter of I've got to be whole so I can give to others and support and facilitate wholeness. So my focus totally changed.
Okay.
It wasn't, yeah.
So there were some things that I recall that kind of almost blew me away. So one, you had some pains in your body, like as a result of arthritis.
Yes.
And so tell us what happened
That was
there.
the biggest. Yeah, I think when I started the program, I would often sit down, and because you're on camera, you can't see. I had either blankets or things on my legs just to keep me warm. I was constantly rubbing my hands. My hands hurt. They were inflamed. My knees were inflamed. I struggled with walking. There was
And
a
is this
period.
because of arthritis?
This is all because of arthritis and if it rained. And during the 90 days, I even ended up in hospital for about 14 hours because I woke and realized I had no mobility in my ankles because the pain was that bad and the inflammation. And I wasn't taking any medication at that point in time, just your basic paracetamol. And I think for me, dealing with some of the emotional stuff, it's like my body, it's like started healing itself, which when you harbor stuff and keep it inside, you keep it to your own hurt, whether it be financially, physically, emotionally, health-wise. And I learned that I have to let go of different issues because it has like a psychosomatic effect. It impacts your body. It's not just about medication. It's your mindset, how you think.
Days. Are you saying that some of the things that you've been holding as a result of past trauma or experiences you're saying was actually manifesting in your body in this way to some degree?
I believe so. And as the good book says, unhappiness or sadness drieth the bones. And that relates to arthritis. So for me, my bones were dry. There was little fluid between the joints, hence the rubbing together and having to have operations in the past. And this was because of harboring things and not being happy and being discontent for so much of my adult life. And going through the program, all of this lifted the unhappiness, dealing with the childhood issues, letting go of people from my history, letting go of people. And even today, if somebody does me something now, I let go of it quickly because it cannot impact my being and I have to be free and it cannot impact my mind. So I am in a state where I am happy every morning that I wake up and I just feel
So,
like I'm flying every day.
okay. So are you saying that the pain got less intense?
It became less intense to the point where there were days where I had no pain whatsoever, not
What?
even taking a paracetamol, I went
What?
weeks, not even a paracetamol, nothing.
What?
And there was no pain, no inflammation. And they didn't actually start medicating or remedicating until December. So I had gone all that time with nothing and the pains
Wow.
had leveled out, but they still started the medication because I still have this condition. But there was no pain. So for me, I believe it was spiritually, I was harboring things which impacted me physically.
Wow.
And we have to let
Like
go of
that
things.
is that is so profound. I mean, that's why we do this is why we do this. Because if I was saying that to people, they wouldn't believe me. But when you are saying here on camera, this is your experience, it is what it is. So that was a
Mm-hmm.
great breakthrough for me when you shared that. But the other one that I loved was this relationship with your mother that had been not cool for decades,
Decades.
literally, yeah, decades
Yes.
in the plural. So tell us what began to happen where that was concerned.
Um, After conversations, and you suggested trying to spend time and not just walking into the situation and allowing it to just sort of happen, but being intentional with my interactions, being intentional with what I say, being intentional with how I respond and not react. And I decided to go in and spend time with my mother for short bursts, for maybe like say 15 minutes, and have a conversation, have a topic on mind. And if there was any sort of antagonistic statement, what I felt was antagonistic, I wouldn't sort of play into it. Or what I would say is be passive aggressive, which is what I found or realized that I was. And I have been for many years. Passive aggressive, I'll smile, I'm happy go lucky, but I feel away. And I had to deal with, I'm not smiling with you. Let me just say I'm unhappy about this. So I then became I just explained how I felt. So I wasn't aggressive about it. I just explained, I'm not happy about this, don't like this. And got to a point where I now spend time at my mother's house without just sort of sitting and scrolling through the phone, which is what I was doing. I was physically there, but not engaging. I'll sit on
So
my phone so I didn't have to interact.
so are you saying that you have now been able to begin to address some of these issues that you and your mother had. And now, for the first time in decades, you actually are forming and building relationship with your mother.
Yes, I'm rebuilding what was there because I think I reflect back to some parts of teenagers' life when we used to go shopping together every Thursday, every Saturday, and I remember that period of being happy, just sort of being out together. And because I was a child shopping, I always got something, so I was spoilt in that respect. But then somewhere along the line, that disappeared, and then myself being lone parent and being the first daughter or the first member of the family to have a child outside of marriage, and again within the church, that caused major issues and angst with people against my parents, my family. So then it impacted our relationships. Our relationship sort of went downhill after I had Lamar. And that's
Yeah.
what, 27 years now. And it sort of
Wow.
gradually became less and less and less. And whereas
Wow.
she has an amazing relationship with my son, our relationship declined. And
Wow.
it
So
was all
let's
around
move
there.
on. Let's move on to the other significant relationship that you seem to have had some kind of experience with. So
Yeah.
tell us about the relationship with your son prior to being on the program, and has there been any significant change in that relationship?
Yeah, in relationship and also with his mindset, because I'm always transferring information. So my son was at the point where he chose not to work and he would engage in maybe seasonal work and sit home for the rest of the year, which then caused an issue. I was then trying not to say too much. So I was then again the passive aggressive mother, and every now and again trying to interject, you need to do this. But through the program and through him seeing me evolve and change and become a happier person, our relationship's happier and he's actually working.
Oh my
So that's
days.
all through the program. So I've seen changes in his mindset. He's a happier person because he's engaging in what he enjoys. And he's happy seeing me sort of evolve,
Yeah,
be
of
happy,
course.
be content. So both of our lives have changed radically.
Wow. And that's such an important point. I mean, for me, my whole life has been inspired and blessed as a result of young people. So I really love it when I hear that. But here we are. What you're saying to me is he's not even in direct experience with the program, yet as a ripple effect, it's impacted him to the point that when we were having our last social event, he wanted to come and participate. It was only the train strikes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so that really goes to show that potentially we may even have a young Lamar coming to join us,
Yes.
because it evokes the kind of curiosity in our young people, because
Hmm.
he don't understand what's happening, but his eyes bear witness to the fact that mum has changed, not just
Yeah.
physically, not just emotionally, but in your energy, your vibe,
Hmm.
and your outlook to life. This is amazing. And this is why we're so excited about the work that we do. And so, was there anything else? Because,
There was.
okay,
There was one other significant relationship because I traveled to Ghana in December, and before I traveled, we had a conversation, and I said, I'm not really clear. I don't really have clarity about the relationship. And he said, but you need to. And I said, well, I'm traveling to get clarity and hope I'll find it when I am there. So there I was traveling to spend time with my significant other, to meet the family and have an introduction and to pursue future. And when I got there, it wasn't, the whole emotional status wasn't there. The relationship wasn't where I thought, realized we're on two different paths, and didn't really enjoy the time with him, but I enjoyed the time in Ghana, enjoyed time engaging with the girls project I'm active with. But the thing is, I came home on the 1st of January, and by the 3rd of January, I closed down the relationship and decided, you go your way, I'm going my way, because I need to be happy in life. So clarity was, we are not on the same journey, and you cannot walk my journey with me. So hence,
wow.
you have to find your own. And I have never walked away from a relationship and felt happy. There's always been some sort of, and I'm just sort of blown up, excited. Everybody's saying you're blossoming, you look different. And I think it's the freedom of being in what I thought was a relationship, but was actually a bondage. And I'm
Yeah,
free from that.
absolutely.
So
And so
content.
that has immense value, because how many people get into a relationship, spend a lot of time investing money, energy,
Mhm.
resource, love into a relationship, only to find out 3, 6 months, 9 months, a year down the line that it wasn't for you. That's, I mean, it's even hard to quantify and measure that in time and money, but it's
Mhm.
a big deal. And
Mhm.
it really speaks to why I say that when I heard this, when I heard this statement then decided to employ it in my life, it was a game changer. And that statement is that confusion is created through lack of clarity.
Yeah.
But for me, how I was able to meditate and give a new meaning to that statement is that, well, actually, if that is true as a universal law, then if I have any confusion in any area of my life, it is simply life's way of saying you don't have enough clarity on the subject. Get the
Yep.
clarity, and the confusion will
Mhm.
dissolve like magic. And
Mhm.
that's what happened here. You
It
went
did.
to Ghana with the intention to gain clarity. So you were
Mhm.
intentional about gaining clarity.
Yeah.
And so said, so done. So you came back, and what a way to start the new year. And it was almost as if that was now the end of GPS 1. So many things, as you just shared, had happened. And this was all in 8 weeks, right?
Yes.
So with GPS level 1, it's like it's a 12-week program. We meet every week for 12 weeks. We didn't even get to week 12. Within a couple of days of you coming back, we had our very first session. And I picked up a vibe. I'm like, something has changed, like significantly. And you were saying some stuff. And I remember saying, you know what? From what you're sharing with me, I feel like we kind of actually just need to move to GPS level 2, because I'm hearing clarity and ideas about what you want to do. And if you remember, I
Yeah.
suggested that you have a meeting with one of our soul family members.
Hmm.
And that is how GPS level 2 began.
Yes.
So that was only, I believe it was either the 3rd, 4th, or 5th of January. Here we are today, it's
Yes.
only the 16th of February. Yeah. So we're talking about 6 weeks. Can you tell us, have you had anything, any encounters that you'd like to share?
Many.
Okay.
So,
All right.
so the first was we had our first discussion or first introduction to this other member of the Soul family, and realized that character-wise and characteristics-wise, we are very much similar. Our life paths are very similar. Our visions for young people in Africa is very much the same. I support a project and engage actively in a project in Ghana, which I visited 2, 3 times in 18 months, and she engages in Kenya. But before I came back to UK during my trip, I attended a church where a speaker said to me, "Do you have contacts with Kenya?" And I'm like, "Yes, ish." And he said, "You're going to Kenya next year." I'm like, "Okay, I'm going to Kenya." Then in this first conversation, realize she's from Kenya and she wants to engage and develop a program in Kenya. And it's like, yes, I'm interested. Yes, I'm coming to Kenya. And then the doors open that in that first conversation, yes, I'm going to Kenya. Don't know exactly what we're doing, but we're about to define and redefine and set parameters and gain clarity on exactly what we want to do. And it's all about supporting young people. So in that short space of time, we've had a few meetings. We've got the business name. So a business has come out of it, a CIC.
Okay.
So
And
we're
just to clarify that GPS level 2 is
all about
when we
business.
have done our GPS level 1, which is really all about the self, healing from past traumas, identifying your gifts, your talents, and your abilities, and your vision of your life goals. GPS level 2 is about how can I bring all of these things together holistically so that I can define a product, a service, or a business structure that will enable me to pour all of who I am into this and get paid.
Yeah.
And it sounds to me like what you're describing is just that.
Exactly what we did. We both had similar visions, but I say she is a little further on in the path in the sense that her vision was a bit wider than mine. So it's allowed me to expand and say, okay, I didn't see it so wide. I didn't see it so big. And what I saw through sort of like maybe a straight lens, it's opened my eyes and I'm seeing like an owl all the way around and I'm seeing a whole lot more than I even imagined, even though that was where I was thinking of achieving. I couldn't see how to, I didn't know how to, but here I'm engaging with somebody who knows how. And that's why I say this journey, you don't go alone. You go this journey with a like mind, you go with support, you go with your sisters, you go with your brothers, because you cannot do this journey on your own because we only know so much. But their knowledge expands until we have something holistic. And here we have a holistic plan which we've put together. We've designed the program, our mission statement, our program, everything that we'd like to deliver to the point where we have the CIC. We're in the process of registering the CIC this
And just
week.
for those people who don't know what a CIC is, a CIC is a community interest company. So by that, and it's really important to state that because in the GPS level 2, you can have a product that you might want to offer the world or a service, but you need to know how to house it, what structure, what company structure you have. So, as a result of setting up as a CIC, it has enabled you to be able to access millions of pounds in funding. Am I right?
Yes. So again, we're in the process of, once this is completed, well, it's not even until while the registration is going through, the application for funding is also in place. So by the time the registration comes through, the funding will have been applied for, the bank accounts will be set, so everything will fall into place. So our vision will expand beyond Ghana, but to Kenya, other parts of Africa, and also we're looking at Asia. So we're looking at meeting youth, any sphere of this world, empowering, equipping, and passing on the baton of life, what we have received from our forefathers, from our intermediates that we work with now, we collaborate with now, and impart to this generation so that they can have something invested in them, that they can invest in themselves and with the next generation.
Wow. So I have to ask you the question. I mean, well, before the question, isn't it amazing that this person that I just felt you needed to connect with has the funding experience so she can write the
Yes.
funding applications, which normally people can't even find those people because they're like gold dust, because they can literally
Yeah.
plug you into money. And I know that because in and through my not-for-profit organization, you know, when I found someone who could write bids, they literally enabled us to access 7 figures of funding. Think about that. Funding is, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to find that kind of money. And
Yeah.
so life has brought you that, and brought you someone who your visions are aligned, you can work to, so you work together, so you're not alone, and you can enjoy the ride. So the question I want to ask you, on reflection, do you think that your investment in your mind reset program, GPS level 1 and GPS level 2, do you think it was worth it?
It's more than worth it. It's more than worth it. I looked and said, I want to be somewhere by next year, August. And where I'm going to be this August is much further than I could even imagine, dream, or think. So for me, even what I'm investing financially, it really isn't enough for what I'm getting for value. So it's more than value for money. It's more than.
More than.
It's more
Oh,
than. It's
say
more
that
than.
again.
It's definitely more than.
Wow. And, I just love it when you say that, because anyone that's watching this will know that you're saying it with joy on your face. So there ain't no way that I could have bribed you. Like, it's
No.
because you know what you're experiencing. And we're talking about from a personal and from a relational, in terms of your mother, your son, and just significant people in your life, and then your vision for how you want to contribute to the world. I mean, on all of
Yeah.
these levels, as well as your health. And this is
Yes.
really what the GPS system is all about. That when you begin to focus on these 5 areas, your relationships, your business and your money, your health and your well-being, your mindset, and your connection with life from a spiritual perspective, in terms of what are you here to do and be. When we begin to focus on all of these things, then we see an expansion in all of these areas. And wow, I am so pleased to have you on the spotlight, because you've been able to demonstrate to us that you have seen an expansiveness in all areas of your life. I'm so glad that you have begun this journey. And I'm even more glad because you guys are inviting me to come speak in Kenya and
Yeah.
in Ghana. So, it's great. And so now we're building in terms of the impact that we want to have across the world. It's just really empowering. So, is there a final word that you would like to give to our audience before we say goodbye?
Yeah. I'd like to say, consider yourself worth it and valuable. Invest in yourself because it's mandatory. and nobody will invest in you and love you the way you can. So invest in yourself, build up yourself, collaborate and become part of the Dada family and impact this world because you can.
Wow, that's so powerful. Listen, thank you so much, Richelle, for sharing. It's just been a awesome joy. I'm so excited, and I wanted to have you today because this month is a special month for me. It's exactly 40 years ago to the month that I
Mhm.
began my journey in seeking my purpose, my passion, and my meaning for being here. And so doing that, I made myself intentionally homeless. And so I'm right now celebrating that this is where it has all led to. And so I wanted to have someone really special on the spotlight
Thank
this
you.
month. And boy, you have just knocked it out the park. So, for those of you who are tuning in and you want to find out more about the Dada Success Academy, where we're teaching you how you can define your vision of what success is, bearing in mind that we now know for sure that school, college, or university does not teach us how to create, define, and grow our vision of success. If you are serious about your vision of success, then connect with us and find out more about our 3-day challenge, our mind reset program, and GPS level 1, 2, and 3. But in the meantime, you've heard from the lovely Richelle. I want to encourage you to just live the life that you are living, but more than that, love the life you live because it's a love thing. It's me, Tony Dada, your soul brother, saying enough love. And thank you so much, Richelle.
Thank you. Goodbye.